Charter Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerantz. We are joined today by Carol Woodruff. She is the founder of the American Woodland Conservancy, and through that work, she has become heavily involved in the Wildlife Conservation Society. I want to start and talk about the American Woodland Conservancy. By the way, we're on the Central Coast today in San Luis Obispo. You've done some great work in this region. Talk to us about your organization.
Well, American Woodland Conservancy, or AWC, is a brand new organization. We have a small board, and our focus is conservation in the world's most important places. We were trying to decide where we can put our limited money and time and effort. And when you look across the globe, there truly is no more important place for conservation than the Amazon.
Please be as specific as you can as to why the Amazon is so pivotal. We always hear about the Amazon, but I have to admit, a lot of us, including me, don't necessarily have a true grasp as to why the Amazon is called the lungs of the world.
Well, it is a land of superlatives. 1/3 of the species on the earth are in the Amazon. And 1/4 of all the fresh water on the planet is in the Amazon. And the Amazon houses 1/5 of the world's forests. The river itself is the largest river by far on the planet in terms of volume.
And let's remind our viewers, where is the Amazon?
The Amazon is in South America.
And it goes through Brazil.
Yes, most of the Amazon is in Brazil, but there are other countries like Peru and Colombia, Ecuador that have portions of it. And it's just an incredibly beautiful place. It's so rich with animal and plant species. And it's become extremely important in the world news too, because we have learned that the solution to managing climate change is to ensure that the world's forests are not reduced and destroyed, because that will hugely impact our climate.
But I can remember back to the 70s hearing the term deforestation in the Amazon, not really understanding what it meant. But the point is that as far back as the 70s, there were concerns, probably even before that, about deforestation in the Amazon. And we still hear about deforestation. I mean, have we started to stem that tide?
I think we have. It's really encouraging. So we've all heard about the Paris climate talks.
Sure.
And during those talks, 196 nations agreed to managing their emissions of CO2. That is a huge part of the solution, is to make sure that the climate doesn't increase more than 2 degrees Celsius.
And even 2 degrees is a bit dicey. But
it may very well be dicey.
But it's not the 6 degrees.
But that's only part of the story.
Please.
The other part of the story is that we not only need to reduce the production of CO2, we also need to halt or at least severely decrease deforestation. And the reason for that is these trees, they suck up the CO2. And they exchange it through photosynthesis, and they create oxygen for us to breathe and carbon for plants to grow. So the trees,
they're the lungs of the world.
They are the lungs of the world. So it's not enough to just reduce the CO2 emissions. We have to have the trees to gobble it up. And the other thing too is, in the process of deforestation, you're also creating more CO2 emissions. So keeping the forests intact reduces CO2 emissions and also uses up, in a very vital way, the bad stuff in the air.
But let's talk about our friends in Brazil, because look, it's an emerging economy. The Olympics are part of, that solution. And it's not an economy that's necessarily as developed as ours, and as a result, it can be difficult to convince our friends that they need to thwart deforestation. So
absolutely.
How have you and the American Woodland Conservancy, the Wildlife Conservation Society, worked with our friends in Brazil?
Well, to work with Brazil, it's not all about what the government of Brazil does. And this is a very complicated issue, so we probably don't have time to discuss entirely today. But what I would say, the whole world has a vested interest in the protection of the forests of Brazil and across the world. And there are a lot of carbon trading programs that are being discussed.
Well, in California we have cap and trade.
Absolutely. And so the solution to Brazil is beyond just the Brazilian borders. In fact, Norway, an unusual country, is leading the efforts in trying to purchase different carbon and trading rights so that they can work with Brazil to help them reach their deforestation goals. So it's really complicated, and we don't have all the solutions, but the health of Brazil is so important to the rest of the globe.
You decided that to fully educate yourself on this issue of the Amazon that you would travel
Yes.
to the Amazon.
Yes.
And you would also travel with your daughter.
Yes, exactly.
And you took that trip just
last
a few
summer.
months back.
Yeah, last summer.
I've seen the pictures. We're showing the pictures. I've talked to you. I'm rendered speechless. Begin.
It's wonderful. So I did travel to the Amazon last year. And in fact, one of the things that we're doing with American Woodland Conservancy is we're sponsoring a group of people to go next summer. And we're going
you've spoken
to,
with me about it.
Yes,
so
and
that's
I would
another
love for you to
conversation.
come.
But continue.
So we landed in Manaus, which is considered the Paris of the tropics.
Oh, okay.
It's a town really in the heart of the Amazon jungle, right on the Amazon River. It's absolutely beautiful. Now, if you're from California and you spend a lot of time outdoors, at first the Amazon feels kind of familiar, beautiful.
Oh, really?
A lot more water than we're used to in
Okay.
California. But the forests look kind of pretty and deciduous and evergreen and beautiful and very rich. But once you get into the forest and take a jungle hike or take a little boat down a river or a tributary, the wildlife is so fascinating. It's so different. Well, on one day we were in a boat and we saw 3 sloths in the wild hanging from trees in little balls of fur. It was spectacular. If you go out at night, we were flashing a light and we saw these big bright eyes looking back at us, and we were able to approach very quickly. And we found a little nightjar, which is kind of a small owl-like animal, which is nocturnal, but a beautiful sight you'd never seen. And we were with tour guides that grew up on the river, and so among other things, they could reach into the waters and grab a caiman, a baby caiman, which is like their version of the crocodile. And so we got to hold it. I got to hold a large snake of some species, and I even got to hold a sloth, and we also saw pink dolphins, and we fished for piranha. Yes, and it turns out we eat piranhas and not the other way around.
Is that true?
So yeah, it's true. They're not that big, and they do have some pretty severe teeth, but you can catch them, and they make for excellent eating fish.
I know that the jaguar is it's kind of the canary in the coal mine,
Yes.
if I can say, in the Amazon. Tell us about the jaguar.
American Woodland Conservancy is partnering with the Wildlife Conservation Society, which for decades now has been promoting the conservation of the jaguar. The jaguar is a South American iconic species. In fact, it has many historical references. There's even cave paintings with jaguars. It's a beautiful animal. It's the largest cat in the Americas. And the
sadly,
strongest.
But sadly not in all of the Americas anymore.
No, the original territory of the jaguar has been reduced. It used to stretch all the way into United States of America, but now it's mostly between southern Mexico through Argentina. And the most important, the core of their habitat is within the Amazon. So the Wildlife Conservation Society has a multi-pronged conservation effort aimed at protecting the jaguar and its habitat. But in so doing, their program is really aimed at protecting all the plant and animal species.
Like we said, I mean, if the jaguar is healthy, it's a canary in the
Yes.
coal mine, it has ramifications for
Absolutely.
the entire habitat.
The typical habitat for a jaguar is 500 square miles. So to protect the habitat of the jaguar means protecting vast areas of land, which contain all sorts of plant and animal species that are so important to the world and biodiversity.
What a remarkable journey you have been.
It's been exciting.
We will continue the conversation. I'll speak with my daughters, even my wife, about maybe joining you. I mean,
We would love to join you, and we invite others to join us.
and so how can we get information about your trip?
You can send me an email at kara@americanwoodlandconservancy.org, or you can check out our website of the same name, and there's information there about the tour next June 2016.
Her name is Kara Woodruff. My name is Brad Pomerantz. This is Charter Locally.